Hi there, this is David Fitzgerald from Factor One SDP Tax Accountants, looking at the new Director Identification Number. We'll provide you a link to this, but it's by the Australian Business Register that you apply for a Director Identification Number. This is the link, but we'll provide you a copy. So I'm going to apply for a Director ID for myself, so we're going to hit apply now. Now I am a little bit further ahead. We will do a separate video on how to set up your MyGov ID. Now, to be very clear, this is separate to your MyGov. So MyGov is where you might link up the tax office or link up Centrelink or Medicare. MyGov ID is a similar app, but it is different to MyGov. So I will skip ahead of step 1 and 2 because I've already done that. As I said, we will do a separate one on how to do a MyGov ID registration. So I'm applying now with MyGov ID. This is the screen for MyGov ID. You can do it via an app or via the web browser. I've already got your email that's linked to your MyGov ID. I'm going to log in. And this is the part where you need the MyGov ID already set up, and it links to an app on your phone. So I now go to the app on my phone and I verify this number. I type in the number on my app, 8190, and this number is different every time you log in. As soon as I authorize it on my phone, it automatically recognizes I've authorized it here. This is my first time doing it, so we'll sort of work through it and hopefully work it out. So yeah, just the standard terms and conditions. I'm going to use my tax file number and address. Okay. It's coming through. My name and date of birth. Now I will need to move this off screen at certain periods of time because it will have my personal information on it. So that's showing us that you can verify these details in different ways. But the main thing to note, it will be picking this information up from the ATO effectively. So this needs to match back to the ATO. Looking at the different options, what I'll do is I'll actually use, I think, my notice of assessment from my last lodged tax return as a method of authorization. For any clients that are clients of ours who prepare their tax return, if you don't have a copy of your notice of assessment handy, you can always contact us and we can provide you with another copy. All right, so I've got my notice of assessment details handy. As I said, I might just move this to another screen for the moment because this information is sensitive information. You shouldn't share it with anyone. So I will just move this to another screen for now. So I need the date of issue, and the date of issue is on the notice of assessment. And there is a reference number on the notice of assessment as well. So it tends to be 369. A 13-digit long number is the reference number. So I'll pop that one in the document. Okay, sorry, I needed to read that properly. It says I need to complete 2 of the items. So I need to complete either bank account details, Centrelink payment summary, dividend statement, payment summary, which is wages payment summary, or superannuation account details. So the other thing there is I might just pop in my bank details. Again, they should match up to the bank details that I have listed with the ATO. So again, so that should be where, if you received a tax refund recently, it'll be where your most recent tax refund was deposited to. For our clients at SDP, that actually may be our trust account details. Your refund comes first into our trust account and then direct to your bank account. So we'll provide details in our instructions of our trust account. So you may, if you're going to use the bank account verification, the bank account details of our trust account for our SDP clients. Again, if you wanted to be double check sure, you can, if you've got MyGov set up, you can jump into your MyGov account linked with the taxation office and check the bank account details that are listed with them. So I'll grab the details that I have listed with the ATO. I'll bring that back on screen. So I've popped in bank account details and notice of assessment. So now the submit button is open. So I've filled in 2 of those choices. Let's hit submit. The ATO records has been verified. Okay, so that's good. Those details matched with the ATO. So again, we're sort of learning this together. First time I'm doing it. I'll hit continue. Okay, so here's the actual application. So this has verified my ID, and now we need to actually attend to the application. So we'll just quickly read through this. So you can apply for a director's ID if you're an eligible officer or intend to be an eligible officer within the next 12 months. So I'm currently already a director of a company. So I tick the first one. I am an eligible officer, being a director of an existing company. Here it is here. It tells you that an appointment of a director, alternative director, body corporate, that's fine. Yeah, that's okay. You're not applying director. So, yep, I don't have one already, so that's fine. Okay, tick that one off. To be eligible as director, you must be an individual, correct, over the age of 18, correct, not be disqualified, correct. So that's all fine for myself. We'll hit next. Have you previously been known by another name? For myself, that's a no. Again, for anyone that's had a maiden name or has changed the name via marriage, you would most likely need to say yes to that, and you may be prompted. Here we go. So if you said yes, you'd be prompted to provide other name details. But for myself, that's a no. Again, it's asking for some personal information here, so I might just move that off to another screen to complete. So place of birth. Again, this would most likely need to match up with what we have notified ASIC, the Australian Securities Exchange Commission, when you applied for your company. So, yeah, if you're not 100% sure what you may have put down with ASIC as your town of birth, again, you can contact us and we can look that information up there, how you've reported it with ASIC. The other option would be to grab your birth certificate. That would probably be the best option, and double check. Some birth certificates will maybe just put things like Melbourne, others will actually put a suburb of Melbourne. For argument's sake, if you're born at the Box Hill Hospital, it might actually have Box Hill on your birth certificate. So grabbing your birth certificate and checking would probably be the best option. As I said, I'll just move that off because off screen, fill in those details. So I'm just quickly grabbing my birth certificate, which I've got handy with me, double checking what was listed on my birth certificate as well. Country, town and state. So I'll scroll down a little bit. Next thing, it's asking for my residential address. Again, if you're an existing director with ASIC, with a company, I'd suggest we'll use residential address listed with them. So directors require listing residential addresses. So we'll search up and make sure that matches. So it's also asking my postal address, is it the same as a residential address or different? So obviously if you've got a PO box address listed. Now again, this should be your details, they shouldn't be our details, so please don't use our PO box. Director IDs, they've been very clear that it needs to be your personal details, not your accountant's details or your work details or anything like that. It does need to be your individual personal details. In this case, I'm happy to use my residential address. So I tick the box and it comes up confirming my residential address as my postal address. Obviously, it's asking for some mobile phone details and business phone details as needed as well. So I'll just pop them in. Just remember with mobile phone numbers, when you're using the country code, drop the leading 0. So if you're an 04 number, you just start with +61 for the country code and then start with the first 4. Actually, no, it's actually wanting the leading 0, which is odd, but that's okay. We'll put the leading 0 in. As I said, this is the first time I'm doing it as well, so sort of learning along the way. My business phone number is a 1300 number. I know that can cause problems with other government ID forms, but in this case it seems to be working okay. So I've put my mobile number in, I've put our 1300 number in. It's not giving me an error, which is good. Putting in my email address, and now this again, this should be the email address that already pre-filled, but it should be the email address linked to your MyGov ID. I'll just move this off screen, we'll hit next. And okay, so next is just a review and submit. So it'll take me through those questions I believe I've answered, and I'll hopefully be okay to submit. So again, it's got quite a bit of sensitive personal information there, so I'll just take that off screen to look at and then bring it back when we're at the submit stage. So yeah, it's just basically reviewing all the information I've already put in and confirming it's all correct. So we get to this stage, I've marked all the fields. I'm agreeing to these things. I'm the person identified, do not already have a director's ID, and I am an eligible officer, or I intend to become one. Yeah, we'll tick that and we'll hit submit. So I'll just again move that to the side. Okay, so it's come up, my application for a director ID number is successful, and it's actually given my director's ID, which is just, if I scroll down a little bit further, it's there. Again, it's sensitive information. Treat your director identification number as if it's your tax file number. Don't share it with anyone other than your accountant or your ASIC agent. One of the things the government's doing is to stop identity issues with companies and making sure directors listed with companies are who they are, who they say they are. So don't go sharing your director ID number with anyone. Again, I'll just scroll down and check everything else. So it's telling me what my director ID number is, which is quite a long number. It's 15 digits long. Yeah, I definitely suggest recording this down, but it is also saying you will not receive your director ID by post, so you won't receive it in the mail. If you want to see what your director's ID is, you can go to your personal details. That must be within the MyGov ID app, the personal details on the MyGov ID, to find your director ID at any time. It's also giving me an option to print I'll just actually scroll down, and so it said it will not be provided by post. I can go to the personal details on the ID, director's ID at any time. I can print a copy, so I'll print a copy off as well. Yep, that's fine. So I'll actually print and save a copy to PDF now. So again, keep that in a safe place. Treat it as if it's your tax file number. You don't want to share that with anyone, and you want to keep it to yourself. Basically, you're registered ASIC agent for your company, or your accountant's about the only people you should probably share those details with. So I have printed that one to PDF, produced a PDF document with my, as I saved it here to my desktop for now, presented a PDF, and that's got all the details on it. Yeah, okay, so it's just a warning about protecting yourself. Your director ID confirms your identity and your relationship to a company. Okay, so it's also reminding us we should never be a director of a company for the sake of being a director. It's only if you're active in that company. Because, again, just a reminder, if something goes bad with a company and you're a director, you can be held liable for certain things and government charges and things like GST and superannuation owed to employees. So we generally advise, if it's, for argument's sake, a husband and wife business, let's say the wife's just running the business, the husband's got nothing to do with the business and maybe off working on wages or has a separate business, we would suggest not having both people as directors, just one. So being the active person in the business. That's it. So again, that process was pretty straightforward, given I had those details readily available. The MyGov ID registration, we will do a separate video on that. That is confirming you will need to use things like driver's licenses and passports to set up your MyGov ID. But again, that is separate from the MyGov app, so please don't confuse the two. MyGov and MyGov ID are separate. So that's all done. So my director ID has been completed. I will actually provide that to our corporate secretarial division, and they'll be able to, I believe, update the companies that I'm a director of with my ID number. Again, thanks for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. We hope to hear from you soon, and as always, if there's any problems, please don't hesitate to give us a call and we will help you through. Thank you. Bye.